What did I see on my security camera that made me want to burn every piece of furniture in my apartment? I came home from my overnight shift and noticed my bedroom door was cracked open, even though I always kept it closed. I walked into my room and the bed was made differently than how I left it. My bathroom smelled like cologne I didn't own, my toothbrush was wet, and my deodorant cap was off when I always clicked it shut. My skin crawled as I realized someone had been in my space while I was at work. Small things had been going missing for weeks and I kept thinking I was losing my mind, so I finally installed a camera in my room last week. I grabbed my laptop, pulled up the app, and pressed play on the footage from last night while I was at work. I watched my roommate Dylan walk into my room at 9 in the evening with a woman I had never seen before. Dylan had seemed like the perfect roommate when I met him 3 months ago, after I desperately needed someone to split rent. He showed up to the apartment tour promising to be quiet and respectful, and I rented him my spare bedroom while I kept the master with the bathroom attached. He paid rent on time and kept his space clean, so I figured I lucked out. But now I was watching Dylan and some random woman laugh and drink wine from my glasses as they sat on my bed. My stomach turned as I watched him show her around my space like it belonged to him. The woman picked up my cologne to smell it, and Dylan kissed her against my closet door. I pulled up the footage from the night before, and it showed Dylan crawling into my bed with a completely different person. I scrolled through the last week of recordings and counted 6 different people he brought into my room while I was at work. One woman used my face wash and moisturizer. A guy brushed his teeth with my toothbrush and put it back in the holder. Another guy even swiped my deodorant under his arms and tossed it back on the counter. Dylan even let someone nap on my pillows for 2 hours while he sat in my desk chair scrolling on his phone. My hands shook as I realized this had been happening for weeks, and every single thing in my room had been contaminated by strangers. I heard keys jingling at the front door, and Dylan walked in holding takeout bags and smiling like everything was normal. Without saying a word, I turned the screen toward him and pressed play on the footage from last night. His eyes went wide as he watched himself walk into my room. "Were you ever going to tell me you've been using my room as your personal hookup spot, or were you just going to keep letting strangers use my toothbrush?" Dylan dropped the takeout bags and put his hands up. "It's not what it looks like," he said, but I cut him off. "I have weeks of footage of you bringing people into my space and going through my things, so you better come up with something good." He slumped against the wall, and the confident roommate act disappeared completely. "I've been telling people I live here alone because my actual room is too small and embarrassing," he admitted. "I figured you'd never know since you work nights and I always cleaned up after." I stared at him in disbelief as he tried to justify violating my privacy for his ego. "Do you have any idea how disgusting this is?" Dylan shrugged like it wasn't a big deal. "I washed your sheets every time and put everything back. You literally would never have known if you didn't install that camera. Besides, some of those people paid me to use a nice place for their dates and content shoots because their apartments are terrible. I've been making extra money off your room for 2 months." The confession hung in the air like poison. He wasn't just disrespecting my space for fun. He was running a business out of my private space and pocketing the money while I slept in a bed that dozens of strangers had used. I spent the next 3 days getting him legally removed from the lease, with help from my landlord who was horrified by the footage. I replaced my mattress, locks, toothbrush, deodorant, and anything else strangers had touched. I installed cameras in every room, and now when I come home from my shifts, I check the footage immediately. My home doesn't feel like a sanctuary anymore. It feels like a place I have to constantly defend.